towards the ceiling joint. Lungs heavy with the velvet gray, watching all the pressure drift away. The city sighs through the window pane, floating high above the heavy rain. Slow motion in the center of the room, flowers of the evening start to bloom.
One breath deep for the soda man, where the concrete and the starlight blend. Floorboards humming with a gentle tone, kingdom built on a couch for a throne. No more running from the ticking sound, gravity lost in the pieces found. Silver curling through the static air, leaving every single burden there. Paper burning at a steady pace, etching quiet lines upon my face. The embers glow like a dying sun, knowing that the daily race is done.
Clock hands freeze at the 0 point, smoke rings climbing towards the ceiling joint. Lungs heavy with the velvet gray, watching all the pressure drift away. The city sounds through the window pane, floating high above that heavy rain. Slow motion in the center of the room, flowers of the evening start to bloom.
Midnight pouring like a liquid ink, stopping at the edge to sit and think. The mirror shows a softer kind of gaze, lost inside the aromatic haze. Shadows stretching on the plaster wall, waiting for the final leaf to fall. Green and gold inside the crystal bowl, healing every fracture in the whole.
Time is stretching like a rubber band, sifting through the hours, grain of sand. The silence feels like a heavy coat, setting every tangled nerve afloat. Clock hands freeze at the 0 point, smoke rings cannon towards the ceiling joint. Lungs heavy with the velvet gray, watching all the pressure drift away. This reassides to a window pane, floating high above that heavy rain. Slow motion in the center of the room, flowers of the evening start to bloom. Clock hands freeze at the 0 point, smoke rings cannon towards the ceiling joint. Lungs heavy with the velvet gray, watching all the pressure drift away. The city sighs through a window pane, floating high above that heavy rain. Slow motion in the center of the room, flowers of the evening start to bloom. Flowers of the evening start to bloom.
The clock face froze at 12 while the incense burns thin. Gravity is losing grip, let the levitation begin. I'm anchored to the sofa, Christians tracing every thread. While the silver moon is spilling milk inside my heavy head. The static on the television paints a blurry scene. I'm drifting through the tall grass in a sea of velvet green. The lighter spots a tiny sun within the quiet room, chasing back the shadows in the center winter gloom. Exhaling clouds of peppermint that swirl around my knees. I'm reading hidden languages whispered by the breeze. The calendar is blank and all the deadlines turn to dust. I've traded in my iron chains for rings of golden rust. My pulse is like a steady drum buried in the floor. I don't remember why I used to keep a locked door. Ceiling turns to liquid glass reflecting every thought. I found a secret compass that the clever never bought.
Slow motion, high above the pavement and the street. I'm dancing with the ghost of every person that I meet. The heavy air is sweet and thick like honey in a jar. I'm reaching out to tumble right upon a falling star. The world is just a pebble in the pocket of my coat. I'm standing on a mountain where the purple vapors float. Whatever was a burden is a feather on the wing. I'm listening to the song that only silent planets sing.
The clock is ticking backwards, dragging yesterday along. I'm weaving all the fragments in a tapestry of song. The walls are breathing softly, kept in sync with every breath. There's a kind of living beauty in the temporary death of the ego and the engine and the grinding of the gears. I've washed away the salt of all the necessary years. The smoke is like a ladder leaning up against the dark. I'm climbing toward the center of the tiny glowing spark. My eyelids feel like copper coins draped in heavy silk. The Milky Way is pouring out how the river made a milk. Floating on my back across the lake of indigo.
Watching how the embers in the ceramic flow.
The neighbors all sleeping tight in boxes made of pine. But I am out here wandering across the dotted line, between the world of solid stone and world of shifted light.
I'm the only one awake within the belly of the night.
The radiator hums a tune I swear I've heard before, a symphony of wood and wind beneath the kitchen floor. I'm peeling back the labels, strung the trials of memory,
setting every capture bird and every spirit free.
The carpet feels like moss beneath the soles of tired feet.
I found a way to make the bitter labor feel so sweet.
One more long release of breath into the cooling air.
I'm leaving every worry on the ones that they don't share.
The shadows stretch their fingers long across the wooden grain.
I'm listening to the falling dust instead of falling rain.
The universe is shrinking down to sit inside the space.
I can see the map of heaven in its smudge upon your face.
The pressure in my temples is a gentle kind of air,
guiding me to shores of some forgotten summer land. Slow motion, high above the pavement in the street. I'm dancing with the ghost of every person that I meet. The heavy air is sweet and thick like honey in a jar. I'm reaching out to come a ride upon a falling star. The world is just a pebble in the pocket of my coat. I'm staying on the mountain where the purple vapors float. Whatever was a word and there's a feather on my wing. I'm listening to the song that only silent plants sing. Slow motion, high above the pavement and the street. I'm dancing beneath the ghost of every person that I meet. The heavy air is sweet and thick like honey in a jar. I'm reaching out to stumble right upon a falling star.
Clock face goes at 12 past 10. Slow combustion starts its crawl. Heavy velvet curtains spinning shadows to the wall. Gray silk ribbons braiding through the ceiling fan. I am losing track of where the floorboards end and I begin. The radiator hums a flat and dusty tune, counting craters on the hollow belly of the room. Hold it in until the pressure turns to gold. Let the secrets of the static finally unfold. Gravity is just a rumor someone tried to sell. Treading water in a deep and quiet wishing well. Higher than the Hawkeyes, lower than the clay. Watching all the jagged edges melt away. Copper taste and drifting haze, mapping out the logic of a momentary maze. The glass is cold against the palm, a sudden saturated calm. No more ticking, just the thick and steady flow. Nowhere left that I am obligated to go. Matches flicker like a dying nervous spark, tracing silhouettes across the canvas of the dark. Ash falls down like winter on a miniature town. Every heavy thought is stripped of its iron crown, floating in the resin stuck inside the grain, listening to the heartbeat of the soft and steady. Hold it in until the pressure turns to gold. Let the secrets of the static finally unfold. Gravity is just a rumor someone tried to sell. Treading water in a deep and quiet wishing well. Higher than the Hawkeyes, lower than the clay. Watching all the jagged edges melt away. Hold it in until the pressure turns to gold. Let the secrets of the static finally unfold. Barely it's just a rumor someone tried to sell. Treading water in deep and quiet wishing well. Higher than the Hawkeyes, lower than the clay. Watching all the jagged edges melt away. Slow motion drifting through the thick velvet haze. The wall clock is melting in the pendulum days. Heavy eyelids weighing down the crown of my head, while the moonlight stretches long across the unmade bed. Deep in the lungs is where the Holy Spirit's high, surrendering the spirit to the turning of the tide. 12 chimes rang out, but the sound never lands. Just the friction of the hour slipping through my hands. A burning ember, glowing like a solitary eye, watching the blue smoke maps trace scars across the sky. Gravity is folded like a paper crane tonight. The floor is made of water and the ceiling is out of sight. No more anchors dragging in the hollow of the chest, just a silent invitation toward the race and post to rest. Slow motion drifting through the thick velvet haze. The wall clock is melting in a pendulum day. Heavy eyelids weighing down the crown of my head, while the moonlight stretches long across the unmade bed. Deep in the lungs is where the Holy Spirit's high, surrendering the spirit to the tyrant of the tide. The street lamps outside are dying amber sparks, fading in the belly of the quiet urban dark. Thoughts are spinning silk in a tangled web of grace, leaving every memory in a cold and distant place. There is honey in the marrow and iron in the bone. King of a king, I'm sitting on a cushioned throne. Everything is soft now, even the jagged edge of truth. Finding all the answers in the cloud of waste of you. Slow motion drifting through the thick velvet haze. The wall clock is melting in a pendulum day. Heavy eyelids weighing down the crown of my head, while the moonlight stretches long across the unmade bed. Deep in the lungs is where the Holy Spirit's high, surrendering the spirit to the turning of the tide. Where the Holy Spirit's high, surrendering the spirit to the turning of the tide. Clock faces frozen at the dead of the moon. Heavy curtain swallowed the silver light too soon. I am sinking deep into the velvet of the chair. The thick blue haze is the only thing in the air. I forgot the question and the reason I came. Watching the candle still flicker like a dying flame. The quiet is a hammer hitting a feather bed. A slow motion circuit spinning round inside my head. Paper thin dreams roll up tight as a fist. Walking through the alleyways of peppermint mist. Every shadow has a story it is trying to tell, but I'm busy listening to the ringing of a bell that has not been struck for 100 years or more. The keys are all rattling the lock of the door, but nobody is knocking and nobody is there. Just a ghost of a feeling hanging in the square. Take a long, slow breath of the midnight dust. Let the gears of the city turn to orange rust. We are floating on a raft made of cedar and bone, finding a kingdom that we can call our own, where the minutes are long and the gravity is light, in the hazy blue garden of the middle of the night. The radio is humming a tune with no name. Small sparks jumping like a high altitude game. I can see the thoughts as they drift past the pan, like soft gray horses running loose in the rain. There is no ambition and there is no regret, just the cherry glow of a finished cigarette. The floorboards are breathing a steady low hum, waiting for the morning that is never gonna come. The ceiling is a map of a country I knew. The walls are turning into a lighter shade of blue. Everything is soft and the edges are all gone. We are standing on the threshold of a different kind of dawn. Take a long, slow breath of a midnight dust. Let the gears of the city turn to oil. floating on a raft made of cedar and bone, finding a kingdom that we can call our own, where the minutes are long and the gravity is light, if the lazy blue garden of the middle of the night. Take a long, slow breath of the midnight dust. Let the gears of the 60 turn to orange rust. We are floating on a raft made of cedar and bone, finding a kingdom that we can call our own, where the minutes are long and the gravity is light, in the lazy blue garden of the middle of the night. We are floating on a raft made of cedar and bone, finding a kingdom that we can call our own, where the minutes are long and the gravity is light, in the lazy blue garden of the middle of the night. Clock face frozen at the apex of the dark. Ash falls heavy on the velvet sofa's car. Low tide rising in a room filled with gray. Watching every heavy bird they drift away. The wooden floorboards on a muddy slide. Nowhere left for the restless mind to hide. Tracing silver circles on the ceiling made of glass. Counting every second till the shadow finally passes. The deep blue frequency is settling in my chest. The slow burn remedy for the heart that never rests. Everything is heavy but it feels so light. Swimming through the thickest part of the night. Take a long slow breath of the midnight air. Leave the tattered pieces of the day right there. The world is just a ghost outside the window pane, floating through the smoke and the soft blue rain. Let the low end vibrate through the attic beams, waking up slowly inside of the train. Just a quiet pulse in the center of the glow. Nowhere left to run and nowhere left to go. The blues guitars leaping through the speaker mesh, healing every hollow in the tired soul and fresh. Thick gold honey pouring through the silent hall, writing secret scriptures on the plaster wall. My pulse is sinking to the ticking of the clock, drifting like a vessel unmoored from the dock. Gravity's fading like a long forgotten name, fed by the embers of a small green flame. The deep blue frequency is settling in my chest. A slow burn remedy for the heart that never rests. Everything is heavy but it feels so light. Swimming through the thickest part of the night. Take a long slow breath of the midnight air. Leave the tattered pieces of the day right there. World is just a ghost outside the window pane, floating through the smoke and the soft blue rain. Let the low end vibrate through the attic beams, waking up slowly inside of the dream. Just a quiet pulse in the center of the glow. Nowhere left to run and nowhere left to go. Take a long slow breath of the midnight air. Leave the tattered pieces of the day right there. World is just a ghost outside the window pane, floating through the smoke and the soft blue rain. Let the low end vibrate through the attic beams, waking up slowly inside of the dream. Just a quiet pulse in the center of the glow. Nowhere left to run and nowhere left to go.
Like it's the double-digit zero on the wall. Heavy lungs holding back the gravity call. The room starts to stretch like a rubber band line. Counting shadows moving in a slow design. Now I'm tracing the smoke till it hits the intake. No more pressure left for the world to create. Just a dim light humming from the kitchen ceiling, wrapped in the fabric of a numb-bound feeling. Half past the deadline, floating in chemistry. The oxygen thickens like a long memory. Golden leaf burning at the edge of the night. Everything heavy is beginning to drift light. Let the exhale carry every burden away into the harbor of the blue and the gray. Window cracked open just to let the frost beat. Words are too heavy for an accent to speak. Feet on the velvet and the brain in the fog, trading my logic for a hazy monologue. The record is spinning but the needle is still. Swallow in silence like a bitter green pill. I see the street lights through a filtered lens, where the logic breaks down and the peace begins. The minute hand is stuck in the sap of the tree, losing the ghost of who I used to be. Drifting down a river made of velvet and pine, crossing the border of the conscious line. Half past the deadline, floating in chemistry. The oxygen thickens like a long memory. Golden leaf burning at the edge of the night. Everything heavy is beginning to drift light. Let the exhale carry out the burden away into the harbor of the blue and the gray. Past the deadline, floating in chemistry. The oxygen thickens like a long memory. Golden leaf burning at the edge of the night. Everything heavy is beginning to drift light. Let the exhale carry every burden away into the harbor of the blue and the gray.
Clock strikes 12 and the ceiling starts to fade. Heavy eyelids watching how the silver light is played. I break the seal while the quiet settles in my chest. Just a local ghost looking for a place to rest. Slow combustion turning oxygen to velvet blaze. Counting patterns moving through the empty hollow space. No more gravity to pull against my weary bones. Just a steady humming of the city monotone. The embers glow like dying stars left between my palms. The liquid pieces pouring through the frantic cooling cones. Forget the calendar, forget the ticking on the shelf. I was drifting miles away from every version of myself. Breathe in and let the shadows soften at the edge. Walking on the vapor of a high and lonely ledge. The world is getting smaller in the purple tinted haze. Losing every map inside this comfortable maze. Breathe it out and feel the wind, I'm melting from the blood. Flighting on the motion of a warm and silent flood. Everything is total when my vision meets the blue. Searching for the nothingness that leads me back to you. Breathe it in and let the shadows soften at the edge. Walking on the vapor of a high and lonely ledge. The world is getting smaller in the purple tinted haze. Losing every nap inside the comfortable maze. Breathe it out and feel the wind, I'm melting from the blood. Floating on the motion of a warm and silent flood. Everything is stolen where the vision meets the blue. Searching for the nothingness that leads me back to you. Street lamps wink like flickering ideas in the dark. Leaving behind every heavy footprint, every mark. The air is thick with secrets that the daylight cannot hold. Turning all the copper memories back into gold. My lungs
lungs are heavy with the weight of ancient quiet tree. Way into the movement of the subterranean breeze. I found a frequency that vibrates underneath the floor. I do not need to look for any exit anymore. The embers glow like dying stars held between my palms. The liquid pieces pouring through the frantic cooling combs. Forget the calendar, forget the ticking on my shelf. I am drifting miles away from every version of myself. Breathe it in and let the shadows soften at the edge. Walking on the vapor of a high and lonely ledge. The world is getting smaller when the purple's in the haze. Losing every nap inside this comfortable maze. Breathe it out and feel the wind, I'm morning forming the blood. Floating on the motion of a warm inside flood. Everything is so embedded, vision reaches the blue. Searching more than nothing is that leads me back to you. Breathe it in and let the shadows soften at the edge. Walking on the vapor of a high and lonely ledge. The world is getting smaller and the purple's in the haze. Losing every map inside this comfortable maze. Breathe it out and feel the wind, I'm melting, forming the blood. Floating on the motion of a warm inside flood. Everything is so embedded, vision reaches the blue. Searching more than nothing is that leads me back to you.
The clock is stuck on 12 and the smoke is rolling thick. Watching silhouettes dancing on the wall doing the trick. Every heavy breath is a slow motion slide down the street. While the mercury drops and the pavement loses its heat. I am buried in the sofa feeling gravity through my frame. Watching the radiator hissing calling out my name. The world is a silent movie with the sound turned low. And I am drifting on the tide where the restless spirits go.
At a green light sparking in the center of the dot. Igniting a vision from a tiny glowing spark. The ceiling is a canvas painted in shades of gray. While every bit of thought simply decides to drift away. My pulse is a steady drum beating inside a velvet box. Picking heavy lock on a heavy iron clock. The city is asleep or holding its breath under the moon. Waiting for the sun to break the spell way too soon. This is the midnight silver, leaving the lungs in a haze. Getting lost inside the corners of a purple tinted maze. Floating on a cloud made of everything we forgot to say.
Watching the kaleidoscope turning the night into day.
It is a heavy kind of freedom floating in the room. A slow burning flower starting its secret bloom. Just an exhale, pushing back against the heavy weight of every single shadow standing at garden gate.
My eyelids are shutters closing on a technicolor dream. Flowing down the river in a slow and steady stream. Just an exhale, pushing back against the heavy weight of every single shadow standing at the garden gate.
My eyelids are shutters closing on a technicolor dream. Blowing down the river in a slow and steady stream. The furniture is breathing like a giant in a deep sleep. Counting all the secrets that the quiet hours keep. The vibrations are liquid moving through the hollow floor. I am not looking for an exit or a different open door. Just lingering in a space where the air feels like silk. Turning all the sour memories into honey and milk.
The street lamps are glowing like pearls on a string. I can hear the melody that the quiet shadows sing. The friction of the daytime is smoothed out and soft. Keeping my heavy spirits suspended way up aloft.
There is no rush to find a destination or a goal. You're feeding the fire burning inside a ceramic bowl. Gravity is a suggestion I am choosing to ignore. While the universe is humming right outside my door.
The stars are just dust clinging through a cold black. And there is no reason to ever look over my back. The atmosphere is thick and it tastes like wood and lime. We are standing on the edge of the fabric of time. Everything is leaning toward a peaceful kind of crash. While the worries of the week turn into a pot of ash.
This is the midnight silver, leave our lungs in a haze. Getting lost inside the corners of a purple tinted maze. Floating on a cloud made of everything we forgot to say.
Watching the kaleidoscope turning my night into day.
It is a heavy kind of freedom floating in the room. A slow burning flower starting its secret bloom. Just an exhale, pushing back against the heavy gate. It's every single shadow standing at the garden gate.
like a gleaming shadows on the hardwood floor. Static coming through the keyhole of the bedroom door. I flick the flint and let the oxygen ignite the haze. Just a lonely pilot drifting through a velvet maze. The city is a skeleton of cold and jagged steel, but in this heavy smoke the jagged edges start to heal. I am sinking upward while the gravity begins to fall, turning every copper thought into a liquid gold. My lungs are heavy anchors in the sea of thick incense. The midnight air is stripping down my last defense. I watch the cherry glow like a dying dwarf star, looking out the distance of how we drifted far. The silence is a predator that's finally gonna sleep. I had promises to break and many secrets left to keep. There is a bluesy ghost rattle in the window pane, washing out the salt and the residue of pain. Yeah. Take a slow breath and let the vision blur. Everything is swaying in a gentle silver curve. The world is just a postcard tucked away inside a drawer. I do not need the struggle or to hollow out the core. Yeah. Just a slow exhale and the drifting of the mind, leaving all the tangled wires and the ticking clocks behind. The blue note is vibrating in the marrow of the bone. King of a kingdom, made of nothing and alone. Where the gray clouds bloom, tracing out the geometry of a quiet vacant room. Time is just a ladder with the rungs cut away. Nothing left to borrow and nothing left to pay. The weight is lifting off like a kite without a string, listening to the anthem that the midnight shadows sing. I am looking at my hands like they belong to someone else, breaking every bottle, sticking on the mental shelves. The blues is not a tether, it is just a certain you, a way of looking sideways at the things we thought we knew. The rolling paper parchment is a gospel for the lost, counting up the gain while I disregard the cost. The ashes falling slowly like a gray and quiet snow. There is nowhere left to run and nowhere left to go. Yeah. The speakers breathe a bass line that is thick as swampy mud. I can feel the molasses flowing through my tired blood. No more jagged questions, no more frantic search for light, just a thick embrace of a heavy indigo night. I'll stay right here until the morning bruises up the sky, catching all the frantic ghosts of yesterday go by. The match is cold and spent, but the fire's in the soul. Finally feeling fractured and finally feeling whole. Yeah. Take a slow breath and let the vision blur. Everything is swaying in a gentle silver purr. The world is just a postcard tucked away inside a drawer. I do not need a struggle or to hollow out the core. Just a slow exhale and the drifting of the mind, leaving all the tangled wires and the ticking clocks behind. The blue note is vibrating in the marrow of the bone. King of a kingdom, made of nothing and alone. Clock strikes 12 and the ceiling starts to melt. Counting paper planes in the cars that I was dealt. Indigo curtains drawing circles round the moon. Heavy on the eyelids in this velvet like a cocoon. No clocks on the wall, just the vibration of the bass. Tracing constellations in the empty inner space. I breathe in the ocean and I breathe out the fog. Stepping off the treadmill in the digital log. The asphalt is sleeping under layers of the mist. Something in the garden that the sun has never kissed. Gravity is leaking through the cracks in the floor. I don't need a key because I took away the door.
Cloudy windows in the back of a park sedan, tracing out a map, but the slow and steady hand. The silver lining glows like a ghost in the dark, leaving every worry as a cold and dying spark.
Liquid amber dripping from the edge of the sky, watching every heavy thought just flutter on by. Spinning like a record, but the needle is deep, between the waking world and the valley of the sleep.
The silence is a river and I'm drifting on a raft, sipping on the quiet like a bitter winter draft. Nothing left to prove and there is nothing left to say, just the purple shadows where the weary tigers play.
Hold the world in a hollow gas jar, looking for the center of a burnt out star. Slow down the spin until the gears all grind, leaving every heavy piece of metal behind. Floating on the exhale in the blue
like glow. Nowhere left to rush, and there is nowhere left to go.
Paper thin moments stacked up against the wall, waiting for the giants and the barricades to fall. Ash on the denim like a gray winter snow, measuring the distance that the inner currents go. The city is a puzzle with 1,000 missing hearts, beating to the tempo of some hidden heavy arts. Keep the flame steady while the ice begins to thaw, looking for the beauty in a fundamental flaw.
Stretched across the fabric of a long forgotten dream, sewing up the edges of a tattered messy scene. Safe inside the bubble while the thunder rolls past, holding on to something that was never meant to last.
Hold the world in a hollow glass jar, looking for the center of a burnt out star. Slow down the spinning till the ear bar grind, leaving every heavy piece of metal behind. Floating on me, exhale in my blue light glow. Nowhere left to rush, and there's nowhere left to go. Hold the world in a hollow glass jar, looking for the center of a burned out star. Slow down the spinning till the gear log grind, leaving every heavy piece of metal behind. Floating on me, exhale in the blue light glow. Nowhere left to rush, and there is nowhere left to go.
Look out the window at the heavy velvet hair. The clock hands frozen in the silver stare. I'm letting out the ghost of a long day's heat, tracing the blueprints of a quiet street. The ladder sparks a ruby in the dim, watching the universe spill over the rim. My lungs are heavy with a slow desire, tending the embers of a low burning fire.
There's a thick sweet haze floating through the hall, reading the shadows dancing on the wall. Gravity is losing its grip on the floor. I don't need to worry about the locks on the door, just a steady lean into the deep end to go, watching the currents of the midnight flow.
Everything is turning to a liquid blue, softening the edges of the things I knew. The city is a long breathing far away. I'm sinking underneath the weight of the grave, drifting through the nectar of a lazy dream. Nothing is quite as solid as it would seem, just a slow motion ride on a rolling tide, with nowhere to run and nowhere to hide. The ceiling is a canvas for a swirling smoke, finding a punchline to a silent joke. The blues are crawling up the wooden stairs, stripping away all the tangled cares. My pulse is a drum buried under the sand, holding the compass in a trembling hand. Time is a ribbon that I've untied, taking a trip on the inside.
There's a thick sweet haze floating through the hall, reading the shadows dancing on the wall. Gravity is losing its grip on the floor. I don't need to worry about the locks on the door, just a steady lean into the deep end to go, watching the currents of the midnight flow.
The soul is a basement where the jazz stays loud, hiding my head in a fragrant cloud. The bitterness is melting like a sugar cube, travel through the hollow of a neon tube. No more fiction, just a velvet slide, letting the mercury be my guide. The morning is a rumor that I can't believe, I've got a couple cards hidden up my sleeve. The world is a marble in a velvet glove, spinning in a circle with a little shove. The smoke is a ladder to a higher plane, washing the dust from my tired brain. Exhale the tension, let the spirit climb. I'm perfectly lost in the middle of time.
There's a thick sweet haze floating through the hall, beating the shadows dancing on the wall. Gravity using its grip on the floor. I don't need to worry about the locks on the door, just a steady leaning into the deep end to go, watching the currents of a midnight flow.
a thick sweet haze floating through the hall, breathing the shadows, dancing on the wall. Gravity is losing its grip on the floor. I don't need to worry about the locks on the door. Just a steady lean into the deep indigo.
Clock is leaning heavy on a strobe of 12. Lungs are opening up a hidden dusty shelf. I draw the ghost of July through a burning glass, watching every frantic minute turn a blaze of grass. The ceiling fan is spitting like a tie of prayer, tracing circles in the thickness of a laden air. I ain't looking for a sign or a holy road, just a simpler way to carry this uneven load. Got a guitar string snapping in the empty hall, shadows doing backflips on the peeling wall. The street lamp is a jester with a yellow eye, winking at the people as they shuffle by. My mind is drifting south where the delta flows, where the willow knows the secrets that the river sows. I'm sinking in the cushions of a velvet throne, feeling like a king who finally found his home. The embers are a map of a forgotten state, giving up the keys to the heavy gate. I worry in my pocket turns to weightless sand, slipping through the fingers of a steady hand. Slow down the breathing of the restless night, let the smoke settle where the moon is light. There's a blues playing soft in a hollow bone, a melody that sounds like coming back alone. Exhale the winter in a tangled vine, everything is leaning on a crooked line. Midnight is a bottle with a broken seal, tasting like the only thing that's truly real. I saw a man in the mirror with a jagged grin, asking where the ending is supposed to begin. I told him that the distance is a clever lie, measured by the clouds in a purple paper sky. The vinyl lips scratching on a soulful groove, making even frozen statues wanna move. But I'm anchored to the bottom of a peaceful deep, where the noisy promises finally go to sleep. Don't wake the neighbors with a heavy boo, the tree is standing taller than the muddy roof. I found a box of matches in a copper sand, wondering exactly where the daylight went. But the blues don't mind a little bit of hazy dew, it filters out the gray and brings us off to you. No more running from the ticking of the wall, just standing in the silence letting shadows fall. The embers on a map of a forgotten state, giving up the keys to the heavy gate. The worry in my pocket turns to weightless sand, slipping through the fingers of a steady hand. Slow down the breathing of the restless night, let the smoke settle where the moon is white. There's a blue playing soft in a hollow bone, a melody that sounds like coming that alone. Exhale the winter in a tangled vine, everything that's leaning on a crooked line. Midnight is a bottle with a broken seal, tasting like the only thing that's truly real.
Clock face pleads a static shade of gray, the smoke performs a slow and velvet sway. I'm anchored in this worn out leather seat, watching shadows stretch across the empty street. The furnace hums a low and steady moan, a king inside a kingdom built of bone. My lungs are heavy with the pale blue haze, a quiet fire burning through the winter maze. The ceiling fan spins like a weary soul, I'm digging deep to find a hidden goal. But every thought is wrapped in wool and silk, the stars outside are spilled in faded milk. The dollars turn to frequencies unknown, where silence has a jagged undertone. I let the friction of the world dissolve into the dusty gears that don't revolve. Hold the breath until the borders start to fade, resting in the cradle that the gloom has made. There's a comfort in the way the hour slows, where the river of the midnight exhale flows. Nothing moves beside the ghost upon the wall, waiting for the gravity to break those fall. Let the blues wash over every aching joint, disappearing past the final turning point. A distant siren wails a lonely tune beneath the cold and suffocating moon. The The ashtray is the desert of the mind, leaving all the frantic urgency behind. The floorboards creak like ships upon the tide. There isn't any place for me to hide, except within this cloud of thick relief, for temporary solace for a tired me. I'm tracing patterns on a window pane, listening to the heartbeat of the rain. The coffee in the mug is turning cold, while stories of the evening start to fold. While pulse is just a rhythmic muffled blood, moving slow as molasses through the mud. The universe is shrinking to this room, enveloped in a soft and fragrant loom. Hold the breath until the borders start to say, resting in the cradle that the groom has made. There's a comfort in the way the hour slows, where the river of the midnight exhale flows. Nothing moves besides the ghost upon the wall, waiting for the gravity to break the fall. Let the blues wash over every aching joint, disappearing past the final turning point.
The clock is leaning heavy on the chimney top. Gravity is thick enough to make the motion stop. I am sitting in the hollow of a velvet chair, tracing silver patterns in a box of heavy air. The city down below is just a ghost of gray. I watch the final shadow sweep the light away. A little bit of fire for the tired mind, searching for the pieces that I left behind. The smoke is like a ribbon on a wooden flute. The noise of every street is suddenly gone mute. There is a slow vibration through the floor and wall. I can hear the giants talking in the hallway hall. Take a deeper breath and let the center hold, turning all the iron into melted gold. High above the valley where the secrets grow, everything is moving in a lazy flow. Midnight is a curtain and the world is wide, float inside the feeling on a rising tide. My boots are on the table and my eyes are low. I do not care exactly where the minutes go. Where clouds are gathering inside a glass of wine. The stars are getting tangled in a fishing line. There is a steady comfort in the cedar wood, understanding trouble like I knew I should. Take a deeper breath and let the center hold, turning all the iron into melted gold. High above the valley where the secrets grow, everything is moving in a lazy flow. Midnight is a curtain and the world is wide, float inside the feeling on a rising tide.
The clock hands meet at the ceiling peak, while the heavy velvet curtains speak. I tangled up the shadows in a zigzag burn, waiting for the planet to stop its turn. The red eye of the heater glows against the floor. I am not looking for the key or the door, just a slow motion dive through the silver haze, tracing out an untamed atlas in a lazy maze. Oh, let the heavy air weigh down the bone in this hollow cathedral of the night alone. The quiet sparks are the only law I know, when the blood runs sweet and the pulse moves slow, floating on the exhale of a long lost year, while the static on my radio starts to clear. Diamonds of ash on a denim sleeve, the only gospel that I can't believe. Watching the wallpaper patterns start to drift, like a tectonic plate in a subtle shift. The neighbors are dreaming of white picket lines, but I'm harvesting smoke from the ancient vines. No calendars counting, no bells left to toll, just the gravity pulling at the center of my soul. Oh, let the heavy air weigh down the bone in this hollow cathedral of the night alone. The quiet sparks are the only door I know, when the blood runs sweet and the pulse moves slow, floating on the exhale of a long lost year, while the static on the radio starts to clear. Of the night alone, the quiet sparks are the only law I know, when the blood runs through and the pulse moves slow, floating on the exhale of a long lost year, while the static on the radio starts to clear.
Clock strikes 12 and the ceiling starts to tilt. Another thick cloud for the kingdom that I built. Slow motion static in the marrow of my bones, leaving unread messages inside the dusty phones. I am watching shadows do a slow dance on the wall, waiting for the gravity to catch me if I fall. The heavy velvet curtain of the atmosphere is gray, watching all my worries turn to bubbles anyway. Ash on the carpet like a gray spiritual stain, tracing every ripple of the blood inside my vein. The neighborhood is quiet like a cemetery plot, counting every second of the peace that I have got. There is a sweet fragrance spinning circles in the dark, searching for a fire from a microscopic spark. I am floating through the floorboards to the level underneath, holding on to nothing with the space between my teeth. Elevate the vision till the pavement disappears, folding up the map to hide the ghosts of all my fears. High above the skyline where the oxygen is thin, let the heavy golden liquid settle on my skin. Weightless in the valley where the heavy breathing flows, nobody is watching where the silver hollow goes. Turn the dial backward till the numbers start to fade, resting in the center of the sanctuary made. Elevate the vision till the pavement disappears, folding up the map to hide the ghosts of all my pain. High above the skyline where the oxygen is thin, let the heavy golden liquid settle on my skin. Weightless in the valley where the heavy breathing flows, nobody is watching where the silver hollow goes. Turn the dial backward till the numbers start to fade, resting in the center of the sanctuary made. My eyes are turning red like a sunset in the west, finding where the frequency is buried in my chest. The city is a circuit board of flickering machines, but I am miles away inside the fabric of my drums, grinding up the hours just to see what they provide, taking every secret for a slow and steady ride. The calendar is empty and the clock has lost its hands, writing down my legacy and shifting desert sands. Ice in the glass making melodies a clink, standing on the edge of what I actually might think. The smoke is like a ghost that is trying to escape, changing every corner to a different kind of shade. I hear the planet spinning on a rusted iron here, everything is loose and yet it feels so very near. One more Aussie pull for the clarity it brings, tying down the anchors to the feathers on my wings.
Elevate the vision till the pavement disappears. Folding up the nap to hide the ghosts of all my fears. High above the skyline where the oxygen is thin. Let the heavy glowing liquid settle on my skin. Greatest in the valley where the heavy breathing flows. Nobody is watching at the silver dollar pose. Turn the dial backward till the numbers start to fade. Resting in the center of a sanctuary made. Elevate the vision till the pavement disappears. Holding up a map to hide the ghosts of all my fears. High above the skyline where the oxygen is thin. Let the heavy glowing liquid settle on my skin. Weightless in the valley where the heavy breathing flows. Nobody is watching where the silver hollow goes. Turn the dial backward till the numbers start to fade. Resting in the center of the sanctuary made.